Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of our English Learning Podcast. I'm Jimmy, and I'm super excited you're here with us today. If you're learning English and sometimes feel confused or even a bit embarrassed when you make mistakes, don't worry, that's part of the journey. Today, Sarah and I are going to talk about common English mistakes that many learners make and how to transform those mistakes into mastery. This means learning from them and becoming more confident when speaking. So stay with us and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our future lessons.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah and I'm so happy to be here with you. Jimmy is absolutely right. Making mistakes is normal. Everyone does it, even native speakers. What matters is what you do after the mistake. If you pay attention and try to understand why something is incorrect, you'll learn faster and speak better. Today, we're going to look at some of the most common errors in grammar, pronunciation, and vocabulary. We'll explain each one, give simple examples, and show you how to correct them. We'll also give you some tips on how to avoid them in the future.
Let's start with one of the most basic grammar mistakes, the confusion between he, she, and it. This is something I hear very often. Many learners say, she have a car, or it go fast. But that's incorrect. The rule is simple. When you use he, she, or it, you need to add an S to the verb in the present tense. So the correct way is she has a car and it goes fast. It might seem like a small change, but it makes your English sound much better.
Yes, that's such a common one. And you're right. It's easy to fix if you know the rule. Another mistake I hear a lot is with the verb to be. People say things like, I am agree, or she is have a dog. But that's mixing different verb structures. Agree is a verb on its own, so you don't need am or is before it. You just say, I agree. And with have, it's also a mean verb. So the correct sentence is, she has a dog, not she is have a dog. One verb is enough. If you put two verbs together in the wrong way...
And that brings us to another classic error, using and an. It seems small, but using the wrong article can make your sentence sound strange. The rule is, use before words that start with a consonant sound, and an before words that start with a vowel sound. For example, a cat, a book, an apple, an orange. It doesn't matter what the letter is, it's about the sound. So we say an hour, even though H is a consonant because the H is silent. It sounds like hour.
Yes, and I also notice that some learners confuse much and many. This can be tricky because both words mean a lot, but we use them in different situations. We use many for countable things like books, friends, or cars. For example, how many books do you have? We use much for uncountable things like water, money, or time. For example, how much money do you need? If you're not sure, try to ask yourself, can I count it with numbers? If yes, use many. If not, use much.
Good point, Sarah. Here's another one. Prepositions. Oh, those little words like in, on, at, to. They cause so much trouble for learners. One of the biggest mistakes is saying, I'm good in English. It should be, I'm good at English. Or people say, I'm going in the store, but we should say, I'm going to the store. Prepositions can be confusing because they don't always follow the same rules as in your native language. The best way to learn them is to listen, read, and practice. Over time, your brain will start to feel what sounds right.
Yes, and speaking of prepositions, let's look at one more example. People often say, I'm married with Maria, but that's not correct in English. We say, I'm married to Maria. It's one of those little details that shows you're really learning. Small changes like these can help you sound more natural.
When learners use the wrong verb tense. especially the present simple and the present continuous. For example, someone might say, I go to school now. That's incorrect. If you are doing it right now, you need to say, I am going to school now. Present simple is for regular things like, I go to school every day. But if it's happening right now, we use the present continuous. I am going. He is eating. They are watching. Just remember the formula. Subject plus am, is, are, plus verb plus ing.
Yes, verb tenses are super important. They help people understand when something is happening. Another tense that causes problems is the past simple. For example, someone might say, yesterday I go to the park, but that's present tense. In the past, we say, yesterday I went to the park. The verb go becomes went. It's an irregular verb, so you just have to memorize it. And don't forget to always use the past form when you talk about something that already happened.
You're absolutely right, Sarah. And one last error for this first part, pronunciation. Sometimes people say the words correctly in writing, but when they speak, the sounds are wrong. For example, the word comfortable. Many learners say it as comfortable, but native speakers say it more like comfortable, or the word vegetable, which sounds like vegetable. Don't worry if you don't say it perfectly at first. What matters is that people can understand you. With practice, your pronunciation will improve.
That's such a great point. Don't be afraid of speaking. Even if you make mistakes, that's okay. Every time you speak, you're training your brain to get better. And when you make a mistake and then fix it, that's real learning. It stays in your mind longer. So remember, mistakes are not bad. They are part of the process.
Exactly. Think of your mistakes as stepping stones. Each one brings you closer to fluency. And don't forget, we're here to help you. If you're enjoying this episode and learning something new, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. That way you won't miss any of our future lessons. In the next part, we'll keep going with more common mistakes and how to correct them, especially in speaking and listening. There's a lot more to explore.
Yes, we're just getting started. In the next part, we'll look at how to avoid translation mistakes from your native language, how to use common expressions correctly, and even some tips for thinking in English. So stay with us. A lot of mistakes happen when people try to translate directly from their native language into English. This is something very normal, especially in the beginning stages. But sometimes it can lead to strange sentences that don't sound natural in English. For example, in many languages, people say, I have 30 years when they talk about age. But in English, we don't say that. We say, I am 30 years old. The verb to be is used with age, not have. These are the kinds of small differences that can make a big difference in how native your English sounds.
Yes, exactly. I've also heard many learners say things like, I very like pizza, which makes sense if you think in another language, but in English, we need an adverb or helping verb. So we say, I really like pizza, or I like pizza a lot. These phrases are simple, but they help you sound much more fluent. The key idea here is don't always trust a word-for-word translation. Try to learn chunks or phrases in English, the way native speakers actually say them.
That's a great point, Jimmy. And speaking of phrases, let's talk about expressions that learners often use incorrectly. A common one is make a photo. In English, we don't say make a photo, even though it makes sense if you think in terms of other languages. In English, we say take a photo. So the correct sentence is, I took a photo of my friend at the beach. Another one is do a mistake. That's not right in English. We say make a mistake. So it's, I made a mistake in my test.
And expressions
not,
like
I
these
did
are
a mistake.
very important to get right. Let's look at another. I'm boring. Many learners say this when they mean they feel bored, but I'm boring means you are not interesting. It's better to say I'm bored. The word bored describes how you feel. So always remember, bored is how you feel, and boring is how something or someone is. For example, this movie is boring, and I am bored because the movie is boring.
That's such a classic mistake, and it's connected to the idea of ed and ing adjectives, which confuse many learners. Interested versus interesting, confused versus confusing, and so on. Just remember this. If it describes how you feel, use the ed form. If it describes the thing or situation, use the ing form. For example, this grammar rule is confusing, but I'm confused about this grammar rule. With practice, you'll start to feel the difference naturally.
And while we're talking about feelings, here's another area where mistakes happen. Using the word feel in the wrong way. Some learners say, I feel myself tired, but that's not correct in English. We don't say feel myself tired. We simply say, I feel tired, or I feel happy, I feel sick, I feel nervous. No need to add myself. That would be a different use, like in the sentence, I hurt myself, which means you caused pain to your own body. But for emotions or states, just say, I feel plus adjective.
Exactly. It's these little words that can really trip people up. Speaking of small but tricky words, let's go back to articles, a, an, and the. Some learners use the too much or not at all. For example, they say, I am going to hospital, or she is teacher. But in English, we say, I am going to the hospital, and she is a teacher. We use a or an when talking about one thing for the first time, and we use the when talking about something specific or already known. So it's, I saw a dog, and later you can say, the dog was very cute.
Yes, and here's something else that confuses people, plural nouns. A lot of learners forget to add an S at the end of words. They say, I have two brother, but the correct sentence is, I have two brothers. In English, most plurals are made by adding S or ES. Of course, there are some irregular ones, like man becomes men, or child becomes children, but most of the time it's simple. Always check if the noun is singular or plural and match it with the correct verb form.
Right, and that reminds me of another mistake when learners say people is instead of people are. The word people is plural, so we say people are nice, not people is nice. This can feel strange because in some languages the word for people is singular, but in English it's plural. It's like saying they are nice, not it is nice. So always remember, people are, children
very common,
are,
especially in
friends
conversation, is forgetting to use auxiliaries in questions. For example, some learners say, you like pizza when asking a question, but in English, we usually need the auxiliary verb do. So the correct question is, do you like pizza? Or does she speak English? The helping verb helps us know it's a question. Without it, it sounds like a statement. And in negative sentences, we also need it. So we say, I don't like coffee, or he doesn't understand, not I know like coffee.
Yes, and I'd also like to talk about a small but very common mistake, using say and tell incorrectly. A lot of learners say she said me, but that's not correct. If you want to say who received the information, you have to use tell. So it's she told me about the party. But if you're not saying who the information was for, then you use say. For example, she said she was tired. It's a small detail, but getting it right helps you sound much better in conversation.
And since we're talking about conversation, let's touch on listening mistakes. Sometimes learners think they understood a word, but it was something else. For example, there, and there all sound the same but mean different things. This is why listening carefully is so important. The more you listen to native speakers, podcasts, movies, and music, the more your brain starts to recognize patterns. You begin to understand not just the words, but the meaning behind them.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to ask for repetition if you don't understand something. Just say, "Can you repeat that, please?" Or, "Sorry, I didn't catch that." Native speakers are usually happy to help, and asking questions is a good habit. It shows you want to learn. Also, don't feel shy to slow down if you're speaking. Speaking slowly helps you think clearly, and it helps the person you're talking to understand you better.
Yes, and speed doesn't mean fluency. Fluency means being able to express your thoughts clearly and correctly. Even native speakers pause, correct themselves, and take time to think. Making mistakes is okay. The most important thing is to keep speaking. Practice every day, even if it's just 5 minutes. Talk to yourself, repeat after podcasts like this one, or speak with a friend. Your confidence will grow with time.
That's true. And remember, every mistake you make is a chance to improve. You're not failing, you're learning. When you speak English and make a mistake, don't stop. Just notice it, correct it if you can, and keep going. This is how you turn mistakes into mastery. You're not supposed to be perfect. You're supposed to keep
being perfect. It's about being brave and consistent. So now let's talk a bit about overthinking when speaking English. A lot of learners spend too much time in their heads, thinking about grammar, rules, pronunciation, and whether what they're saying is correct. But while they're thinking, the conversation moves on. One of the biggest mistakes is being too afraid to speak. But here's the thing, speaking English is a skill, not just knowledge. Like riding a bike, you don't learn it by reading a book. You learn by doing, even if you fall a few times.
Yes, that's such a great point. I meet many learners who know a lot of grammar and vocabulary, but when it's time to speak, they freeze. Why? Because they are afraid of making mistakes. But let me tell you something important. Speaking with mistakes is better than staying silent. People will still understand you. They will not laugh. Most people respect you for trying. So instead of thinking, "Is this correct?" try to think, "Can this person understand me?" That's what matters. Clarity is more important than perfection.
Exactly. I like to say progress, not perfection. You don't have to speak like a native to be a great communicator. And now let's talk about a few small but powerful changes you can make to sound more natural. For example, contractions. Many learners avoid contractions and say, "I am not going," or "he is my friend." But native speakers often say, "I'm not going. He's my friend." These small changes make your English sound more fluent and relaxed. Try using contractions like I'm, you're, there, he's, it's, we're, and even don't, can't, won't.
Yes, contractions are like music to the ears of native speakers. They make your English smoother and more natural. Another great tip is to use simple linking words when you speak. Words like so, because, but, then, and also. They help you connect your ideas and make your sentences longer. For example, instead of saying, "I like coffee, I drink it every morning," you can say, "I like coffee because it helps me wake up. I drink it every morning." It's still simple English, but it flows better and sounds
speaking of
more
fluency, let's touch on something that often slows learners down. Trying to remember rare or complex words. Sometimes people think they need to use big, advanced words to sound smart. But actually, the opposite is true. The best speakers use simple, clear language. Don't say commence when you can say start. Don't say utilize when you can say use. Use the words you know well. Simple is powerful.
Exactly. Communication is not about showing off your vocabulary. It's about making a connection. And this reminds me of another mistake many learners make, not asking for help. When you don't understand something, it's okay to say, "What does that mean?" Or, "Can you explain that?" Even native speakers do that all the time. Don't pretend to understand when you don't. Asking questions is a smart move. It helps you learn faster, and it also shows that you care about the conversation.
Totally agree. And here's one final point I want to bring up. Practice in different situations. A common mistake is only practicing English in the classroom or only studying from a book. But language is alive. It changes with context. Try using English in different ways. Order food in English at a cafe. Talk to a tourist. Send a text to a friend in English. or even talk to yourself. Yes, that's right. Talking to yourself in English is a great way to practice. Say things like, what do I need today? I need to go to the market. I'm going to buy bread and milk. It's great practice.
That's a fantastic tip, Jimmy. I do it too when I learn other languages. And I also recommend using English subtitles when watching TV shows or YouTube videos. Listen to how native speakers say things. Pay attention to their expressions and pronunciation. Then try repeating what they say. Even repeating one sentence a day can help your brain learn the rhythm and tone of English. Slowly, you'll start thinking in English without translating.
To move from translation to thinking in English. This doesn't happen overnight. It comes with regular practice and patience, but it starts by letting go of the fear of making mistakes. If you accept your mistakes, learn from them, and keep going, you'll reach fluency much faster. Every mistake is a lesson. Every correction is a step forward. And we're here to remind you that you're doing great just by trying.
Absolutely. You are already winning because you're listening to this podcast, and that means you care about learning. Keep going. Don't stop. English is not something you master in one day, but with small, daily practice, you will improve. Just remember to keep your language simple, clear, and confident. Don't worry if you don't know every word. Use what you know well and build slowly. Fluency is a journey, and you're on the right path.
Before we finish, let's give our listeners a few quick reminders of what we covered today. We talked about grammar mistakes like verb agreement, he goes, not he go. We looked at using the correct tenses like I went, not I go yesterday. We also talked about confusing words like bored and boring, articles like a and the importance of practicing without fear. And of course, we reminded you that mistakes are not something to avoid, they are something to learn from.
Exactly. And if you want to review what we talked about, listen to this episode again. Try repeating some of the sentences out loud. Use them in your own speaking practice. Share them with your friends. And remember, this is a safe space to learn. We're proud of you, and we want you to keep going. You can do it.
Thank you so much for spending time with us today. If you found this episode helpful, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, and leave us a comment about your biggest English mistake. We'd love to hear it, and maybe we'll include it in a future episode.
Yes! And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a new episode. We'll be back soon with more tips, stories, and strategies to help you speak English with confidence. Until then, keep practicing, keep smiling, and remember, mistakes are just steps toward mastery.
Take care, everyone. See you in the next episode.
Bye for now.